Welcome to a lesson about weather, climate and vegetation in social studies. In this video, we shall learn about various things. The first one is about the traditional methods of observing weather. What are some of the traditional methods of observing weather? Number one, migration of birds and insects. Number two, shedding of leaves of some trees. After a rainy season, a tree may shed its leaves to indicate that a dry spell is coming, like the baobab tree, which sheds its leaves when the rains have ended. Number three, appearance of certain clouds in the sky. Number four, phases of the moon. A new moon would indicate rainfall. Number five, presence of dew in the morning, either on the grass or other surfaces, which would indicate that there would be no rain. Number six, croaking of frogs, which would indicate that rain is coming. And finally, appearance of the rainbow, which would indicate that there's going to be no rain. Next, let's look at the modern methods of observing weather. What are the modern methods of observing weather? In modern times, we observe weather in a weather station. We also observe weather using satellites. In that image, we have a weather station. This one is an automated weather station which measures a number of weather elements. In this particular case, we have a sensor inside here which measures air temperature, air pressure and humidity. And on top of this object, this surface is used to measure the amount of rainfall, because the surface is sensitive to the impact of raindrops. And these things here, they are called transducers. They are used to measure wind direction and wind speed. This equipment measures other weather elements, and the sensors are not displayed. It can also measure solar radiation, it can measure soil temperature, and so on. We also use satellites which revolve around the earth, and they are used to observe weather, taking pictures of clouds, and so on. Next, let's look at weather symbols. To show information about weather, when we are giving a weather forecast, we use weather symbols to show what kind of weather that is going to be experienced. Like in the first case, we have the symbol of the sun and the cloud, and this one shows that the weather condition is partly sunny, because you have clouds and you have the sun, but the sun is more prominent, so it is partly sunny. This one here shows that we have thunderstorms. Thunderstorms, they are associated with lightning, so this is a symbol for lightning, and it's a cloud which shows that we have thunderstorms. And this one is a symbol that shows that weather conditions are mostly cloudy. You can see this, the symbol for the cloud and the sun, but the cloud is more prominent. So this one shows that it is mostly cloudy. And finally, this one shows that it is cloudy cloudy with showers. We have the cloud ant, the symbol for rainfall or precipitation. So it is a symbol for cloudy with showers kind of weather. Now, weather elements. How are the following weather elements measured in a weather station? Air temperature, rainfall, wind, air pressure, and humidity. We shall look at them one by one. How temperature is measured. Temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of an object or place. Now, how is air temperature measured? Air temperature is measured using a thermometer. In this image, we have what we call a 6S thermometer, which is a U-tube like that one, and it has mercury at the bottom of the tube and alcohol above the mercury, right? And it has these two ends bulbs which are sealed, and this bulb here is completely sealed, and we have alcohol here, right? We also have a metal index, and this one is mercury. And then here, this bulb, there is a vacuum, there is some space here, and there's alcohol here, and there's this metal index. Now this instrument is used to measure maximum and minimum temperatures. When temperature rises, the alcohol expands, alright? And the alcohol here has nowhere to go, so it will expand and push the mercury down in this part of the thermometer. So the mercury moves down and moves up in this other part, and as it does that, it will push this index upwards up to where we shall have the highest temperature. So in this part of the index, this part of the thermometer, the scale here is for measuring the maximum temperature. When temperature drops, this alcohol will contract, and so the mercury will move down in this arm and up in this other arm. So as it moves up here, it will push this index upwards, which will be used to indicate the lowest temperature or the minimum temperature. And after we have made the reading, we can reset by using a magnet, which can be used to pull these metal indices or to reset them. Alright, so we measure temperature using a thermometer, and in this case the units for temperature measurement are degrees Celsius or degrees centigrade. Next, rainfall. How do you measure rainfall? Rainfall is measured using a rain gauge. This is a diagram of a standard rain gauge. It has a funnel which is 5-inch in diameter, right? And the rainwater enters the gauge through this funnel into a collecting bottle. This is a glass bottle which collects rainwater. And if this bottle fills, it will overflow into this water. This can, this metal can, is for the overflow that will come out of the glass bottle. Alright, so the amount of rainwater collected in the bottle and in the overflow can is poured into a measuring cylinder, and then we are able to read the amount of rainfall in millimeters. Right, and the height of this gauge from the ground surface to the brim of the funnel is 30 centimeters. That's how we measure rainfall using a rain gauge in millimeters. Next is wind. How do you measure wind? Wind is measured using a wind vane, and even a windsock and an anemometer. So this is a diagram of a wind vane. A wind vane measures wind direction, that is, the direction from which the wind is blowing. So it has an arrow in the tail, and below this we have the compass points. So we are able to estimate wind direction using this wind vane, which is placed at 10 meters above the ground surface. To measure wind speed, we use an anemometer, which has got cups that rotates as wind blows. Then we read our wind speed on a meter, either in meters per second or in knots. Next, air pressure. How do you measure air pressure? Air pressure is measured using a barometer. A barometer is always placed in the office. It is an indoor equipment, alright? Because if you place it outside, it can be affected by temperature. So you place it in the office. A barometer, this is an example of a barometer, which is called a mercury barometer. So this tube has got mercury, and this is what we call a cistern with the mercury as well. So the air in the atmosphere, the weight of the air in the atmosphere is exerted on this surface of the mercury. So the air pressure is exerted on this mercury in the cistern, and therefore the mercury rises in this tube. And if you are able to measure the height of this mercury column, then that will be a measure of air pressure, either in millimeters of mercury or in millibars. And air pressure is the pressure that the air exerts on the earth. It is measured by a barometer in millibars or millimeters of mercury. So this is a kind of a mercury barometer. You also have aneroid barometer and so on. Next is humidity. How do you measure humidity? Humidity is measured using a hygrometer. This is a hygrometer. It is called a wet bulb hygrometer for measuring humidity in percentage. It has a dry bulb thermometer and a wet bulb thermometer. The two thermometers are mercury in glass thermometers. They are the same, but the wet bulb thermometer has got a muslin cloth wrapped around the bulb with a wick immersed in distilled water in this container. The water rises by capillarity along that wick and evaporates around the bulb. So the wet bulb measures a lower temperature than the dry bulb. So we read the two thermometers at the same time and find the difference between the two. That difference is what we use to calculate humidity, right? That's how we measure humidity using a hygrometer in a weather station. Now let's see how we can describe the different types of climate. Now we have this type of climate called equatorial climate. Equatorial climate is usually hot and wet, right, which is found around the equator, right, where we have hot and wet conditions throughout the year. Mountain climate is cool and wet, because the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. So in mountainous regions, in highlands, the weather conditions are cool. The climate is cool and wet. Alright? Wet because we have relief rainfall and so on. Now, desert or semi-desert climate is usually hot and dry. Alright? Tropical savanna. Tropical savanna type of climate is a tropical wet and dry climate. So we have the wet and dry climate. It is experienced in savanna or tropical grassland regions, and it is relatively hot. Alright? Now, the Mediterranean type of climate is usually hot. It has hot summers and humid, cool winters. Alright? Now next, we have come to the end of our presentation. So if you find this video helpful, kindly like, share widely, and subscribe to be able to view more educational videos. Thank you.